Elise stopped trying to fix something that was never really broken. The moment didn't feel important when it happened. There was no argument, no clear decision, no visible ending. Just a small pause in a conversation that lasted slightly longer than usual. And Elise didn't fill it. Elise and Nathan had been together long enough to recognize each other's patterns without discussing them. Their relationship didn't depend on intensity or constant emotional exchange. It moved steadily, built on routines that repeated without needing to be redefined. Nathan was calm, consistent, and rarely initiated change. He preferred things to remain as they were. If something worked, he didn't adjust it. He didn't extend conversations unnecessarily. He didn't interrupt silence unless he had something specific to say. Elise noticed more. Not in a reactive way, but in a precise one. She paid attention to timing, to tone, to the way conversations moved and where they slowed. She recognized when something felt slightly off, even if it wasn't visible. For a long time, those differences balanced each other. Nathan maintained stability. Elise maintained continuity. Nothing seemed broken. But something had been gradually loosening. The change didn't come through conflict. It appeared through reduction. Conversations became shorter. Messages ended sooner. Even shared moments in the same room contained more pauses than before. Not uncomfortable pauses, just ones that stayed a little longer. Elise noticed it early. At first, she responded the way she always had. She extended conversations, added questions, returned to topics that faded too quickly. She reintroduced movement where it slowed. Nathan responded, but without expansion. He didn't resist, he just didn't continue. Over time, Elise became aware of a pattern she hadn't defined before. When a conversation slowed down, she restarted it. When silence appeared, she filled it. When something felt incomplete, she completed it. Not intentionally, just consistently. One evening they were sitting together at home, the same place they always sat. A lamp on in the corner, the TV playing something neither of them was actively watching. Nathan said something about his day, a short sentence without detail. Elise responded, asked a question, added a comment that would normally open the conversation further. Nathan answered, then stopped. There was a pause. Not long, but open. Elise felt it immediately. The same type of pause she had filled many times before. She knew exactly what could follow. Another question, a shift, a continuation that would make the moment feel complete. Her attention moved to that space automatically. But this time, she didn't enter it. Nathan didn't continue either. The silence remained. Elise noticed something specific. The silence didn't create discomfort. It didn't signal distance. It didn't require adjustment. It just existed. Nathan reached for his glass, took a sip of water, and set it back down in the same place. A small, ordinary movement. The kind that would have gone unnoticed before. Now, it marked the end of the exchange. The next day, something similar happened again. They were walking outside. Nathan made a short observation about something they passed. Elise responded, then nothing. They kept walking. The conversation didn't restart. The silence stayed alongside them, not interrupting anything. Elise noticed how natural it felt. She started observing these moments more closely, not reacting, just recognizing. How often conversations ended without her extending them. How frequently she had been the one adding the next step. There were also moments she almost spoke, a sentence forming, a continuation ready, but she stopped before saying it. Not as resistance, as awareness. The shift became clear one evening when Nathan asked her something simple. "How was your day?" Elise answered, briefly, without adding anything extra. Nathan nodded. "Good." And that was it. The conversation ended. Elise waited, not expecting more, just noticing. Nothing followed. She paid attention to what she felt in that moment. No tension, no need to restart the conversation, no impulse to add something just to keep it going. She recognized something then. The conversation had ended exactly where it needed to. Not because it was complete in content, because it didn't require continuation. She thought about how many times she had extended similar moments before, how automatic it had been to keep things moving. Now, without that effort, nothing collapsed. Elise didn't withdraw. She didn't become silent. She continued speaking, responding, participating. But she stopped adjusting every pause. Conversations became shorter, more defined, less stretched. There were moments when Nathan did continue something, not often, but clearly. When he added a detail, it wasn't because the conversation required it, it was because he chose to. Those moments felt different, not longer, just more intentional. Elise noticed how her attention changed. She wasn't anticipating the next part of the conversation anymore. She wasn't preparing what to say while the other person was still speaking. She was just present in what was happening. She also noticed the absence of something else, the quiet effort she used to make, the subtle tension of maintaining flow. It wasn't there anymore. Nathan didn't comment on the shift. He didn't mark any difference, because from his perspective, nothing had been removed. Only something had stopped being added. Over time, the rhythm between them changed, not in frequency, in structure. There were longer pauses, but they didn't feel empty. There were shorter conversations, but they didn't feel incomplete. And occasionally, there were moments that extended naturally, without effort, without intention. One evening, Elise sat alone in the same room where she had first noticed the pause. The light was the same, the arrangement unchanged, the quiet familiar. She thought about how things used to move, how continuous conversations had been, how naturally she had filled every space. Then she thought about now, how things stopped, how they resumed, how they didn't require adjustment. Nathan entered the room and sat down beside her. He didn't speak immediately. Elise didn't either. The silence stayed between them, not waiting, not empty, just present. After a moment, Nathan said something small, a simple observation. Elise responded. The conversation ended, naturally. Neither of them extended it. Elise leaned back slightly, not thinking about what should come next. There was no expectation, no unfinished thread, no sense that something needed to be held together. And in that moment, she understood something clearly. Not everything that slows down needs to be fixed. Not every silence is a sign of distance. Some things remain exactly as they are when you stop adjusting them. They don't disappear, they settle. And what remains after that is not less, just clearer. Elise looked around the room, then back at Nathan. Nothing had changed in a visible way, but something had shifted in how she existed inside it. There was no effort in holding anything together anymore. No need to anticipate. No need to maintain. Just presence. And for the first time, That felt complete enough to leave exactly as it was. If this story felt familiar, there are more like it here.